Welcome to the podcast world. You're listening to the Playing On Podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. This episode is brought to you by Charm City Paintball, who makes the pack band, the Markowski pack band that I wear on my pack. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's the American flag pack band. It is amazing. It was made by Mike over at Charm City. He makes headbands, head wraps, all kinds of cool stuff. Make sure you check him out. Charm City Paintball on Instagram along with Facebook. All of his work is custom. I think it's usually under 10 units. So everything is super low run, custom, high quality, great stitching. The fabrics are amazing. They're tough. They're durable. He has old school fabrics that sandanas used to be made out of, along with some of the newer things like the ripstop materials and whatnot. But he makes amazing products. Make sure you check him out. Again, Charm City Paintball on Instagram along with Facebook. We are also brought to you by CK Fight Life, who is not only involved in paintball, but they also have a whole jiu-jitsu side that they are building. But as far as paintball goes, they have pants, jerseys, packs. But to me, the coolest and most unique thing that they provide is a laser engraving service. If you've seen any of, I believe, San Monville or Yeah from Houston Heat, they have a lot of stuff laser engraved from them. I think a few of the Dynasty guys have some stuff laser engraved from them. But it's amazing work. Make sure you check them out. ckfightlife.com. And if you are a newly jiu-jitsu advocate like myself, make sure you check out all of their jiu-jitsu gis, rash guards, shorts, and they also have the long rash guard pants. They have all kinds of stuff. I have one of the gis. It's amazing, high quality stuff, super durable. It's amazing, and all the guys over there are great work. Chris does a great job with that whole thing. And if you guys are interested, make sure you check it out, ckfightlife.com. And if you're more of a phone person, you can give them a call, 951-219-5045, and ask for Tony, and tell them that Carl from the Playing On podcast sent you over there. So thank you to CK Fight Life. And last but not least, we are brought to you by Planet Eclipse, who has come out with the CS2, and I'm sure that everybody out there has seen them, but it is the Aftershock Splash CS2 and LV 1.5. Holy shit, these things are nasty, man. When I first saw them, I was like, okay, all right. I saw a little proof for them. I was like, well, yeah, these are pretty nice. And then once I had them in hand, I was like, holy crap, these things are amazing. They're full 360-degree anodizing all over the place. The colors pop. They're bright. I'm not the biggest fan on big, bright markers, but this thing takes the cake, man. I enjoy it, and I'm a big advocate for the LV1 platform, that they just shoot amazing. But I'll tell you what, these new CS2s are pretty slick. Just the small innovations that they've been doing. I believe they've redesigned the bolt system, the actual foregrip where you have the 2 AA batteries. They now eject out of the bottom. I thought that was a pretty cool feature, and they have a shorter feed neck as well. But and the actual the trigger system on it is pretty intricate too, and just the design team and the work that Planet puts in is amazing, and they do a great job for the paintball community and the paintball world in general. So thank you to Planet Eclipse, along with all of our sponsors, Charm City Paintball and CK Fight Life. That's all the ads. So this podcast is with Bart Yachimec. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Especially ever since I started doing the podcast in general. I've been wanting to get him on here. We went on a few rants. Well, I went on a few rants, but things I wanted to get off my chest and really hear from the horse's mouth. And who better than Bart, because he's so involved with everything. And from what I got, I knew Bart was a great guy, but from what what I got from the conversation is that he is really one of the people that are on board who really want to help this sport succeed on all platforms, whether it be tournament style, whether it be scenario or anything. He really wants to put his best foot forward and see this sport in the spotlight, and whether it be with Ghost Sports, streaming on Facebook. I mean, that was another huge conversation that we got into. But he wants to see the sport grow, and agreed with a lot of the stuff that I was approaching him with, which was pretty interesting. But enough of my babbling. Here is the podcast with Bart Yachimec. Bart, man, what's going on?
Hey, just kind of chilling, relaxing, working now, back in Canada.
Yeah?
And no, it's all good.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?
Basically, I'm in the car business. Mostly, I got 6 stores. We have a Honda, Chrysler, Mitsubishi, Honda, Nissan, Acura, BMW, Mini.
Nice.
And then I have some land holding companies that I deal with. But other than that, that's about it. I've got a pretty good, I've been a dealer since 28. I worked for my father from 85 to 88 full time. And I ended up getting very fortunate in a sense of applying for the Chrysler store in 88. I was 28 years old and got a franchise.
Really?
Yeah. So, I really worked out of fear back then. And you worry about being successful and bell to bell, and Joanne will attest to that 7 days a week. And then, they saw the drive, I think, from a Chrysler perspective, and a young guy that could make it work. And that was a Jeep Eagle franchise, small store in the beginning. And I remember with my father, I was running both of his stores, Nissan and Honda at the time. And when I got my own franchise, he said, we had 70 staff, and he said, you're allowed to take one person. Because I had a lot of loyal people. My father was semi-retired, and so I ended up taking one employee and grew the business from there.
Wow, I mean, and a lot of people, and I've noticed this as I've grown up, and the world became more real as you grow up, and I looked at a lot of successful people, and at first, I think a lot of people do this. At first, you look at them with jealousy and some kind of like, why them, and why this, and why them, and why this. And you can even take it to Edmonton Impact themselves, and you look at it and you go, you know what? It comes down to one basic thing: hard work. And the more I've read about it, the more I've witnessed it myself. It's truly just hard work and putting in the time and everything you have and being passionate about it. And I can guarantee you that your end result might not be what you want, but I can guarantee you there are paths and there are different opportunities throughout that path. But you will find success as long as you put in that hard work.
Yeah, if I look back, if you think about 88, and I was a hockey player from when I was 8. So, I was a hockey player until I was 25 years old.
I want to get into that too.
Yeah, and I worked my tail off being a hockey player. And I had a lot of fun too. We all, at those days, it was a lot of beer drinking and old school hockey. But, you dream about being a hockey player. And I tell you, I was in shape. I was phenomenal shape. And, the kind of the end of the tunnel came, and it was like it was over. You realize it's over, and then, but as you get into a career of another sort, like I did in the car business, I worked out of fear, and I say that seriously because I didn't want to fail, and I worked 7 days a week. But then again, I loved the car business as I got going into it, and it made something. I've got guys that worked for me. I've worked with guys that have been car lot guys or like lot people moving cars around that are dealers today, and all because they just love the business. And Impact. You talk about Impact. Well, hell, we couldn't win a tournament until 2010.
I remember when you guys came in. Yeah.
Yeah, and PSP was our first win. We never ever did win an MPPL event other than the Kansas City Schmozzle that went on. And so what impact for I think 13 was 10 was the one win, and we never started winning until 13, and that was 6 years pro. A lot of hard work.
Yep, absolutely. And like I remember you guys coming in. One of my most embarrassing times on a paintball field was against you guys. It came down to a one-on-one, and I think it was Zach, who I was doing the one-on-one. I was playing. It was in Tampa, I believe, and it was when I was on Avalanche, and he shot me within I would say 5 seconds of the match, and I was like, yeah, okay. Nice shot. That was good, and I distinctly remember that, and it was good. I mean, you guys were definitely on the rise, and I enjoyed watching you guys come up and everything that you guys have gone through. I mean, and then the players and everything. I'm trying to find that right match, but we will get into that. What is so intriguing to you about the car business?
Well, it's a total people business. You've got a team of a small store will have 30 people. You've got family, friends. You've got things that go on behind the scenes. It's the hard work every day. I've been through a lot with it. I've had disastrous situations. We've had deaths. We've had it all. It's really a family affair for me in a sense of seeing success, with people where I've taken it. Even Zach and Zane right now, they're getting into it, and you're seeing them grow and learn from it. And it's just a real people business. And it's a complicated business because you've got 5 businesses in one. If you think about it, you've got a parts department, a service department, you've got a finance department, you've got a sales department, you've got new cars, used cars, you've got all these, and you've got accounting, and you've got all these people that have to gel together.
Yeah.
So it's really building a team, and that's what it's all about. And if you can get them all going in the same direction, it's amazing what you can do in that type of business.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. How many different parts of a dealership that goes into it. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, we get a snowstorm and you got your lot guy blowing cars from the inside out, which is totally wrong. People are driving by every day and you see your car still snowed in after 2 days of big snowstorm.
Yeah.
And it's like, we start from the outside in. It's simple stuff like that. It's doing the walks. It's getting there at 8 a.m. and cleaning the lot, and little things that add up to big things. And that's part of life in general. I mean, and I'll keep going back to the impact story, but that's what I've tried to teach our guys is the little things look after the big things.
No, absolutely. So let's go back to your earlier years. And were you an athlete when you were younger, or were you interested in anything else but hockey when you were younger?
Well, in school, it was, I wasn't the best student. I'll be honest on that. I got my grade 12, and I made a commitment when I left home when I was 16 years old to go to play Portland Winterhawks in junior. And but prior to that, if you go back to when I was 8 and 9, junior high was good, and I was always active. We were playing hockey as a 10-year-old and loving the game. I was a provincial champion in wrestling, very competitive in anything and everything. I played rugby. I went to the Canadian Nationals with the Alberta team in high school. So I did everything. I didn't play football. I wasn't a football guy. I played a little bit of baseball.
Yeah.
Swam. I was a swimmer. I actually out-swam Oliver Lang, just so you know.
On record.
On record in Malaysia. He wanted a swim race, and I was the old guy, and I ended up touching the rope before him. He probably won't
live that down.
He won't live that down. And Ryan Greenspan was in that race too, and I beat him too. So,
Ooh.
But that was the fun times. But yeah, it was very competitive. In hockey, it was, the goal was to play the NHL. And I can always remember, leaving home at 16, making a commitment. I'll get my high school. I went to school in Portland. I went to college in Portland. I went back in summer school. So the commitment was there. I learned the discipline very young for some reason that, you live by your commitments. Mm-hmm. And so that was good. And then, I always remember going to my first training camp in Chicago. I drove to Chicago and I worked out. Man, I worked out. That's all I did all summer, getting ready for Chicago. I want to be in the best shape. And I did. I was there. Back then in 79, you have to think about when players went to training camp, pro players, they went to training camp to get in shape. Well, when I got to training camp, I was in shape, so these guys are standing still. And but I was pegged for the Atlantic Coast League, and I made the American League their #1 farm team, which was to me was an accomplishment, and that was and that's kind of where So,
I mean, is that the point in your life when you kind of looked around and went, okay, this is going somewhere?
Well, and again, and when you go from junior, you kind of get through that junior hockey stage of being on a team. You're going to be there for 3 years, but in the pros, I mean, that's where you turn into a man from junior, because junior you're a kid still, and all of a sudden you're playing with men, and it's a different game. It's a lot more mature. There's a lot more things going on. You got to look after yourself. You got to be prepared. There's nobody babysitting you. Whereas in junior, you lived with parents. You lived at home like you were still living at home. But then you move out and you're on your own, and it's a different world. I mean, all of a sudden you got nobody to really talk to at times, and you're living in a foreign place. I lived in Moncton, Springfield, and you become a man. That's really at 19 years old, I'm on my own.
That's great.
But you still had your teammates and all that. That's all part of the hockey game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I tell you, it was that first year in pro. I was, last guy cut from Chicago. I had high hopes. I was just flying, and then you get sent down to the farm team. Okay, you make the #1 farm team, and then, I sat for the first 15 games and never saw the ice.
Really?
What's going on? And then at the end of the year, I get sent down. And at that time, and it still happens today, March, there's the deadline, cut line. And if you're that top 20 player, you're going to stay on the team, or they bring someone back from Europe or whatever. And I was one of those guys that got sent down to the Atlantic Coast League, if you can believe this. And you'll remember the movie Slapshot. There's always a good little story here. And I was with a team called the Hampton Aces. I got sent down for the last 12 games of the year, and my first year pro, and I'm in the dressing room in Hampton. We still have 3 road games left, and the team folds. I'm in the dressing room. I'm kind of the newbie there in a young team. So the team folds, and the guys get together. Well, let's finish the road trip. Let's go. So we go to Erie, and it ends up we play the Hansons, who played in the movie Slapshot.
Really?
So I played against the Hansons, if you can believe it, in the farm teams. And that was my real learning process of understanding what it was like to be on the outside, because I got sent down and then nobody really cared after that. I was gone. It was like, I've been with a team all year, and then all of a sudden it didn't matter anymore. So, in life it's tough because you think you're so important to the team, but you're really just a number.
Yeah.
As hard as that's to say, because you're part of the team, you'll make the best of it is when you're there, and you can do as much as you can. But if you're cut or you move on, I mean, they move on to other people, same as business. We all move on. A new salesman, a new manager, the business will always survive. It's just part of the world. So I learned a lot then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You almost have to reference the business in that standpoint, because they're always trying to get better, and they're trying to fit the puzzle pieces in. And if you don't fit, I mean, you don't fit. No matter what you do, if they don't see it working out, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I've obviously never been in that situation before, as far as that high of level, but I can imagine it's fairly easy to know that if something's not working or if something is working, that the higher ups are going to make that decision, and it is what it is when it comes down to it.
Yeah, you just don't have a choice at sometimes, and you're doing your best, and then it's not good enough. But it's, again, if I put it to business and into the hockey world, getting sent down was probably one of the good things to realize. You got to do a little bit better. You got to work a little harder, or whatever the case may be. You're not the right fit right now, or they had somebody else come in that was better, and so be it. I mean, it happened to me 3 years later. I was in Switzerland playing, and they called me. The Oilers called me in Switzerland and said, "Hey, we want you to come back and play for our farm team to help us get in the playoffs." It was my last year of pro hockey, but I get the call from Europe now. I'm the Europe guy coming back, and they had to drop somebody off the roster to make room for me, who they're trying to improve their team. So it's the dominoes. It's eat or be eaten, right?
It's life, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's one thing I love about hockey too. Is, I mean, you're not the biggest guy in the world, too, and what I like about hockey is that I think a perfect example is Brad Marchand from Boston. I mean, he's not very big at all, but he is, as much as I hate him too, the guy can play hockey. And it's crazy how he can just be in the right place at the right time. He doesn't have to throw the big hits. He will if he needs, or even Pavel Datsyuk. I mean, his timing, the timing is there. And as long as you can do that, you will have those other guys that will do all the manhandling for you.
Well, if you think back to the 80s, 90s, the early 2000s, the player was a lot bigger. The game has changed in the game of hockey. Hockey's, there is no hooking or you can't hit anybody in the right way, the wrong way today. The game has totally changed from when I played.
Yeah.
I mean, I played with big guys, but Leanderthal, so I'll call him, and I was 5'8". I was 178 pounds. I would lose 6 pounds a game.
Yeah.
And I was one of the fastest guys on the ice. When I went to the Oilers training camp, the time trials, I was second fastest on the team. So, but it didn't help me because I was so small, but yet I was good. But it was just a numbers game back then. It was weird because I left Chicago to go to Edmonton thinking, hey, Oilers hadn't won a Stanley Cup, and it's my hometown. Maybe I'll get a break and blah, blah. And I was good. I was a good hockey player. I led the American League in scoring for 65 games. And, but it just didn't happen for me. And, the last year with Chicago, I left and went to the Oilers, as I said. And then next year, they're calling everybody up because there's so many injuries. And a guy gets a chance to play in the big leagues, you make the best of it. And then all of a sudden you get that break and all of a sudden you earn your way in. And it's not really I will honestly say guys will make it because of a contract that they've earned because they had a great career in junior or college. Mm-hmm. The guys with contracts are going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. So it's all over the place. I can't say it's, I can only say I'm going to have to blame myself. Whatever. It just timing wasn't there, whatever you want to call it.
Now, do you follow the Oilers now?
Yeah, it's a hometown now. So we've been season tickets holders with the business for almost 25 years. Yeah.
How about McDavid?
It's phenomenal. Really is quite a player. I mean, he is so fast and light on his feet. It's amazing how he can maneuver out there on the ice.
It's amazing. He's just the skating ability, I feel. I mean, he can be so far down the ice with so few strides. It's crazy.
You would have liked to seen a guy like that playing with Gretzky back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
In that era, because that era and this era is totally different. It's a different game.
Yeah, I just watched a documentary not that long ago, and it was called, what was it called? It was called like Hooligan, not Hooligan, or it was pretty much just about all of the bigger guys who used to fight.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I watched that myself too.
I thought it was super interesting.
Yeah. And those guys are extinct now.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not a real need for them. And yet they were probably the best guy in your team, the best guy in the dressing room, because you felt protected. Mm-hmm. But I fought some guys back in the day. I fought Jeff Brubaker and Ted Nolan back in the day.
Really?
So, yeah.
Who won?
I always won. I was left-handed.
There you go.
They never saw the left coming. But I've been knocked out too, so I won't say I won them all.
Yeah, that's an interesting feeling. I've always wanted to play hockey. That was one sport that my parents said, no, you're not playing hockey because we have like 2 rinks within a half hour of where we live, and there is no ice time hardly, and we can't afford it. So I was like, all right, fair enough. But I've always been intrigued by hockey, and just how, to me, I think a hockey player is almost the truest athlete as far as mentality goes, ability goes, because you not only are you trying to handle a puck on the ice with a stick and knives on your feet, but you're also keeping track of where all of your guys are, along with all of where all the other guys are, going 20 miles an hour on the ice. It's
a different sport in a sense that athletic-wise, I mean, as a hockey player, I probably couldn't keep up to a soccer player on the soccer field from a conditioning perspective, but he probably couldn't keep up to us on a hockey rink. So the athleticism, you may be in shape, but you're still not in shape for the type of sport that you play.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's funny. It's funny how it is. I can take a guy that's in great shape and take him snowmobiling, and he's trying to get me off the hill. Just get me home, So, yeah.
Well,
it's
and soccer players too. Soccer players get nudged, and they, it's soccer players. I'm sorry if I offend you if you're a soccer player out there, but oh my god. No. So your hockey career, unfortunately, you kind of see coming to an end. When does it? Is this when you start getting with your father on trying to grow that business, that car business?
Well, at that time we were in the 70s. We were in the used car business. Then we became a new car dealer in '81.
In '81,
Honda was our first franchise. So in '81, I turned pro. 79. So 79 to 85, I used to sell cars in the summertime.
Oh.
And when I would April, May, when the season was over, I'd come home and Dad would say, "Well, we'll see you at work tomorrow." I just got home. He goes, "Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at work." I go, "Okay." So off to work I went. But then the one year we won the Calder Cup in '82, and I came home and Dad says, "Well, we'll see you tomorrow." I said, "No, I'm taking the summer off because I just need a summer off." So there was one summer that I told my dad that I said, I'm not working this summer because I just won the Calder Cup. We got home at the end of May, and I just had, I just need a rest, and it kind of got to me. So I mean, you do those things, but honestly, I was selling cars every summer for my dad, and then when I was in Switzerland, and it was what happened actually before that is I had, after my first year with the Oilers, after 4 years pro, I was done. My dad said, we talked about business, and if you don't get in now, and blah, blah, things are going to change. And I was 24 years old. And so I committed to quit hockey and go. And then I got a call from Can-Am Hockey in Canada to go play in Europe. One more, pay me. Actually, I was going to triple my contract. If you can believe this, when I was playing the American League, I was making $20,000 a year.
Really?
So in the 79 to 84, I was making $20,000 a year, 25. And if I played in the NHL, it was $100,000. And I was never signed as a draft player. I was signed as a free agent. As a free agent, I got a $5,000 signing bonus. And but again, that's how the times were back then. What changed the NHL for the salaries that are getting today will go to one thing, is that they published what every player made in the NHL. And I believe it happened in the late 80s. And when everybody found out what they were making, all of a sudden you saw an imbalance of a guy that wasn't worth what he was worth, making more than a guy that was scoring 30 goals versus the guy that was scoring 10 goals.
Yeah.
So right there, the agents got a hold of all that information. Next thing you know, everybody's on the horn. Hey, there's no way your guy's making that much in my guy. So the values went right up through the roof. And it was the best thing that ever happened in the NHL for the player.
Right.
So again, back to my story is then I got a contract from Switzerland to go play for $60,000. I made triple the money my last year. Oilers phoned me at the end of the year, my first year in Switzerland, and say, "Come on back and we'll pay you another $20,000." So I made about $80,000 my last year in 1985. At the same time, I was kind of getting done in my hockey career, and my dad phones me in Switzerland, says, because I was always selling cars from the summer, I thought I would keep going and selling cars when I got back. He says, "You're going to go to the parts department." So the attitude for me was great. I'll go wherever you take me. So, but that really helped me in a lot of educating me from a back end forward in the car business, because I started in the parts then instead of just selling cars.
Right.
So I learned the parts, the service side, and I worked my way through. So and that's really got me going. And then eventually I worked my way into management, running the 2 stores, and I became a general. And that's when I got my opportunity with Chrysler. And knowing what I knew in those times, the real business, and that's what got me the franchise, I believe.
Such a cool story. I was always wondering about that, of kind of how you came up and what the story was, because I heard that you were in the automobile industry as far as dealerships go, but I'm always curious at everybody's story on how they got to where they are. It's really cool to hear.
The big thing that I learned, and being a dealer principal or running your own store, is at that time, remember, I only took one employee with me. I had 8 salespeople, 3 or 4 parts guys, 7 or 8 techs, small store. I was the receptionist. I was order taker. I was doing everything. And my rep from the Chrysler came in and says, Bart, you're going to kill yourself. You can't do everything. And ordering cars, selling cars, you're just trying to do everything to everybody. And he says, you got to start delegating, or you're going to go, you'll kill yourself.
Yeah.
So and I started delegating, and that's when I really learned how to grow the business, because I started delegating people to do more jobs, and at a young age. Don't forget, I'm 28 years old, and at that point, I got my real break in '93. I got my real break getting the first store, but in '93, Chrysler merged with AMC and bought Jeep Eagle in '88, and then they wanted to merge Chrysler and Jeep together. So then that's when I learned how to buy stores. Was they forced one of us to buy one of the other guys out, and they picked me to buy the other guy out, and that's when I really bought my next store. And then from there, I started buying more stores and realizing, hey, delegating people and getting good people to work for you was really important, because I could manage more stores and grow the business. And that's really when I took it from 2 with my father to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 stores.
Yeah, that's an insane amount of trust that you have to have in people. And I mean, I can't imagine even running 1 or 2 stores, let alone 7. That's very impressive.
Well, I always say that as long as there's people that always take from you, always steal from you. So as long as there's enough left for me and my family, we'll be okay. So, I mean, and back in the day, it was pretty, I mean, you got to go, it was not easy. There was a lot of people stealing from you and everything else that goes on. And, it's trust. Like you said, Carl, and part of the impact story right now is trust. And that's what I build. It's trust. If we can't trust each other, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. So let's get into the paintball side. When were you introduced into paintball?
Basically, it was Joshua met living in Florida. His parents moved. Josh's dad, Greg, worked for me. He's worked for me since '88. He's one of the first guys that I hired. And Greg was actually working seismic in the forest, and they said, "Look, I'm having a son." And it was Joanne's sister Mary he married, and Greg and I are brother-in-laws, and Josh the nephew, and all that. And he said, I want a job to watch my son grow up instead of being in the forest and all that. So seismic job. And so Greg joined me. Then he moved to Florida about 5 years after. No, it's probably more like 10 years after Josh was born. They were in Florida. Josh learned how to play paintball in Florida as a 10-year-old. And he kept telling Zach and Zane, he said, you got to play paintball. You got to go play paintball. So anyways, we were on a spring break and April in Maui, and we had nothing to do. We went, and the kids were bugging me. Josh was playing paintball. Let's go buy a gun, buy a marker. And I'm totally against guns. I mean, we don't have guns in the family. I'm not a hunter. And I said, well, we'll go to the store. We'll take a look at it. And we went down to the Hawaiian store, and the guys were really good. Wasn't interested in buying anything. It was like, no, okay, fair, I've seen it. Let's go. And then he said, well, you want to go play paintball? And I said, well, we're not doing it. Because, yeah, let's go play. So up we went Sunday, the next day, up the mountain in Maui, and we played our first paintball game. Got so hooked, honest to God, we came home that next weekend. We played every weekend for the whole summer. Every summer I had the kids in the van with 45 minutes to the paintball field, and we played every weekend.
So you were hooked.
I was hooked. I was so hooked, Joanne got hooked. Joanne, we were buying, a lot of credit to Dale Kerr, who was our paintball mentor back in the day, who's now passed away since. He was a great man, I thought he ran a great paintball field, indoor, outdoor. Actually, I helped him buy we leased a paintball indoor in Edmonton, because we only had paintballs 5 months of the year.
Yeah.
So in the wintertime, we couldn't play paintball. We had to go down, drive 2 hours to the nearest paintball indoor store.
I feel you, man. I'm in the
same. And we would we would go every other weekend just to go to a tournament or whatever through the winter. So, that paintball was our life. It really was. The kids were 10. I was, 40 years old. And I was still playing hockey in a beer league, and I ended up quitting the beer league after 15 years from when I'm trying to put all the dates together. 87 to 90 to 2000 was 13 years of beer league hockey after I quit playing pro. In 2003, I probably quit playing hockey and went full-time paintball with the boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, you don't hear very many stories. You always hear the father or the parents taking the kids and go have fun, go do your thing. But it's so cool to see that you were just Well, and even the whole gun thing, right? I think that's one of the biggest things with paintball right now is that, we have our language and everything that we talk about and say, but I feel like if we want to grow this, we don't not necessarily have to dumb it down, but I feel like if we want more people to be involved, especially bigger companies, bigger sponsors, and grow this thing, I think we really have to watch what we say, how we represent ourselves, how we represent the company, the sport itself, and really, really, truly dig deep and like, okay, how can we do this thing? How can we grow and stop being so selfish on what we're doing, and really think about where we want to take this thing? Because we're not going to be in the sport, forever, right? And really, and your involvement in the league now is, and I know this for a fact that you want to grow the sport. You want to take it in a direction where we can make paintball what it should be, right? And I think there's certain things that we really need to do as far as media goes, to make the events bigger, to make them more popular, to make paintball itself more popular. There's things that we need to do and put in place in order for that to happen.
Well, Carl, you've nailed it on the head in a sense. I really believe, and I can give you examples, and we've talked about teamwork right now. Selfishness in this game is the issue that I think manufacture paintball fields, the player, all of us in this game. The one thing we can make a difference is I think we need a marketing campaign. I think we need to start, all of us need to chip in somehow, some way to create a marketing campaign that is, you have to understand, if you're going to sell something, you have to advertise it. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to sell my house, I got to advertise it. If I'm going to sell my shirt, I have to advertise it. And the paintball game is so safe in my eyes. Everybody knows it's safe that plays it. Mm-hmm. Injuries are bar none. We don't have injuries per se.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And recreational, when you think about the field game or the rec ball, I mean, nobody ever got hurt. It's a game that's so safe, but I don't think we market it that way. We don't market it how safe the game is. It's a great game to play. It's team building. All these things that we talk about, an individual field will talk about it, mm-hmm. but we need to put our money together from a field perspective, from a sponsorship perspective, and start building a chest of money that we can take to the market, however which way we can. Because if I think we can start marketing this game in more of get it above the wire rather than below the wire all the time, then we'll have success and we'll have a long-term game that's going to help everybody. But I've talked about this with our owners and internally, how we need to create, whether it's $1 a box of paint that goes to a fund, the field owner can throw in. I do it with the car business. We do it. We spend money as a group. We collectively put our money together, and we go out there and market our product.
Yeah.
We make it what it is. But we're not doing that in the paintball world. I really believe that we're not working together as a field owner, as a paintballer, as a manufacturer. If we can get everybody working together and put some funds into a campaign, we can make a difference. But we got to get it started somehow, some way. And that's in the back of my plate right now, to start doing that kind of thing right now, because the next stage is the Olympics. We're talking about the Olympics. How do we apply? This game qualifies. We know that right now, but we need to go in, and that's a 3-4 year window of trying to get into there. Mm-hmm. So there's lots on the horizon for us as far as the NXL and what it's done and how we think and how can we grow the game. But we need to take those little steps to make the things happen. And I think my goal now is to start thinking about how we can create a fund that can start marketing the game. Because with everything else that's going on around us in the real world of the guns, it's scary. And that's going to affect us, I think. And unfortunately, there is a difference in the real gun, and it's just different. And I don't, and that's why I think we have a hard time with outside sponsorship.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we have to market ourselves in a way to where we, just like you said, where it is safe. We use paintball markers, not paintball guns. I mean, I've been consciously trying to correct myself anytime I say, anytime I'm going to say gun, I say marker. Or, and I always try and, help out kids at the field or even parents if they have any questions, let them know how safe the sport is. And I think you're exactly right. We need some kind of fund or some kind of, collection to where we can put towards advertising, put towards Hell, who was I talking?
You know, you can't even go. I can't go play hockey with my kid and get on the line with him and play hockey with him, but I can sure go play paintball with him on the same line.
Absolutely.
Where do you get that? You know, soccer. I'm not out there playing with the kids in soccer. I played with my kids from 10 years old till today. I mean, if I wanted to keep playing like Alex, I could still be playing with my kids.
Yeah.
It's an amazing game in my eyes, but we're not selling it that way. You know, parents are busy. We understand that, but still, there's a day that you can go golf with them. Okay, but you can go compete with your kid in a game of paintball. You can't do that in every sport.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a great game, and the people in this sport are great people. So many good people. It's amazing.
The friendships, and I've explained it this way too. It's like if you're in, and I try to explain this to the kids coming up and the youngsters coming up in the sport who want to play pro, and I'm like, if you're in this sport and your one focus is to go pro and make a bunch of money and do all this, it can be done. People have done it, right? You got to be in the right place at the right time. You have to work your ass off. There's a lot of things you have to do. But if you go into it with an open mind and you earn relationships with people and really earn friendships and this whole thing that encompasses what paintball is in the community, I mean, that's where you're going to be rich. I mean, I'm rich in friendships that I've made. Over the years.
Exactly.
So that's
exactly that.
Yeah, but we have to do something, and I feel like, and even something like this, even a podcast where people listen to it and the ideas at least get out there and they can listen to. You know, I'm still going to say that I was at least a little bit of a contributor to the 4 pods that are over in Europe now. But I've been preaching that for a while because it's just, it is what it is. But there are a bunch of other ideas that I have that I feel, and they're not all great ideas, and I'll admit that. But I think it's talking about them and really trying to figure out how to make this into something that we can sell, and advertise as something easy to follow, fun to play. And even on the tournament side. But I want to talk to you about Go Sports and releasing, and I don't know how all it works, who's with who or whatever, but releasing Fridays for free, or at least this past Friday for free. Do you know the numbers on what Friday brought in as far as YouTube and Facebook goes?
You mean what kind of audience they had for the Friday?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I heard it was extremely good.
It was extremely good.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
Yes, and I think
so. Again, but your pitch there is, that we ran it for the first year and it was very expensive. And I know when Dave Youngblood had it, he was up there in costs, and it's really not an easy thing to pay for. So in saying that, when you get those kind of numbers that they got on the Friday, and probably Saturday, Sunday would have probably even gone even higher.
Yeah.
How do you pay for it? And it's great to say it's free, but there's a cost of it, and it's not easy to run a tournament. I'll be honest. I thought being a standalone, because we ran the MPPL, I was involved in that, and
oh, really?
we were. Yeah, I was one of the owners. I was one of the 16 owners.
Oh, there's 16.
That's how we started the league. Everybody threw in we threw in our $10,000, and everybody threw in 10. We started with $160,000 to start the NPPL. After it folded. Did
you get a little plaque that said you were an owner of the NPPL, and that's what you got for your 10 grand?
No, I didn't get. No, actually, it took a little more money than that to keep it going. But if we would have had the support, 7-man, I think, is a great game. I don't know if we're getting off track here, but the Go Sports is not. It's just not it's expensive to run. They've got, and even today, I look at their staff right now. Support is huge in what they've got there. So they're, for them to run Friday was an exception. I think they're trying to grow the sport by doing it that way, which is probably the smart thing. And hopefully they got some people to join in after that.
Yeah.
They've got UFC, or not a UFC, but they've got boxing in there now, or the fighting in there. So they're starting to grow it, and hopefully they're successful. I mean, it's a great format.
Yeah. I'm not knocking them. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to knock them or anything.
Yeah. But the numbers were good.
Yeah. When I heard when I heard what the numbers were, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And I think it's something as simple as and I said it, plenty of times on this podcast. I was like, we need to at least get the curious factor out there. Because if we can get the videos trending on YouTube, if we can get them on Facebook, and we can get people just interested in the content and in the sport itself, I feel like it would eventually be something that you would not be able to ignore. I mean, because already I feel like we have that, because we are still so small and confined to our small little world, that I feel like people are curious. I still get it all the time. Oh, you can turn pro in paintball? Oh, there's tournaments? Oh, you can do this, you can do that? Yeah. But if you do something as simple as what they did on Friday and put it on Facebook, and you know how mindless people get whenever they get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and they're scrolling and they say, oh, what is this? Oh, I didn't know. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, that there is huge. Is huge to me. And it just takes the right amount of people or person to see that and go, I want to know more. And then that's
Tom Cole and I were talking the other day, and he said, you realize, Bart, there was a commercial on the Super Bowl for paintball back in 1984.
84?
84. Wow. So, yeah, think of that. It was actually a commercial.
Well,
so again, exposure. Hey,
GoPro had they had a commercial, and I think I was talking to Greenspan about this. GoPro had a commercial where when one of their cameras was sitting on the ground, and then like a dirt bike went by, and then it got splashed, and then it got shot with a bunch of paintballs. And I was like, that right? I mean, we need to get this involved. There's something there, and whether it be, I don't know. I'm just a little peon. I'm a player, and I just have ideas and whatnot. But I feel like, I mean, do you see some kind of a players' union or team union happening at all, and maybe some kind of I don't even know where to go. I didn't go to business school, so I really have no idea.
Yeah, the union side of things, or a players' union, isn't really. It depends what your goals are in that sense, or what your objectives are to accomplish with that, because it's a different. The union is. I mean, I belong to it, and when I played in the American League, it's trying to protect what you have as a player, right? It's really in trying to get more benefits or whatever it could be. It depends on the goals. So player union, again, I'm back to where if we want to grow the sport, I got to figure out how to grab the field owners, how we can get the field owners to start participating in a group thing where if there's 1,000 or 1,500 field owners across the United States and Canada, whatever, worldwide. I mean, we've got an opportunity with this. With the card system that we've just generated through the NXL, which, we can put a certain amount of funds from each card to a fund, and we can start it there. I mean, maybe that's part of the leader. And he just gave me an idea, Carl. So maybe that's where we start it, a fund that's going to generate a marketing campaign. Again, back to the union side of things for players. I've been on one. I've been a part of it. I've even been a rep for it, so I understand it. But it depends on your goals and what you want to accomplish with a player rep, with a player.
Yeah, I mean, thinking of it like that, I know exactly what you're talking about. I guess it's just because I feel like right now there's such a totem pole of players, not just talent-wise, but I feel like overall there's such a difference of obviously Impact is a well-funded team, but our overall, I mean, amazing players, don't get me wrong, but compare them to some of the other teams, and it's in other sports, you have that cap or even that base pay, right? Or something like that. And I feel like the player, the basic paintball player, professional paintball player, we're not contracted. We're not, it's almost like handshakes, you know what I mean? With what's happening. And I want to grow the sport, and I want all that to happen, because I know once that happens, the players and their benefits will come along with it. But I'm trying to figure out where the player comes in and what incentives the players have, instead of going in this. Hopefully, I'm not going off too track, but a lot of what I've noticed in the league is you kind of got to fight for yourself. I mean, you're playing for a team, but you have to make those friendships and those relationships, and try and get in good with this company, even though you're playing with this team, and try and make the friendships here, to where if something possibly doesn't happen, because not a lot of teams have contracts. This sponsorship, so maybe they're going to help you try and find another team. And it's trying to find that where we can get players on and kids coming on, and the younger generations coming on, going, okay, it does seem like it's structural, and there are local teams around here, local pro teams that I don't want to not be on. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a bigger problem, I think, because of the game is I'll call it a hobby, in a sense that that's part of the game. We don't have the support structure like any other professional sport.
Right.
And that's the problem. We don't have an income that's going to pay for that structure that you're talking about. Let's be truthful. I mean, NHL, NFL, everybody wants to go to those sports and watch the games. Right. The problem with paintball is if we had a one visual item, like a soccer ball, like a hockey puck, like a football, people could watch it on TV, but we don't. You think about it, if we had, tracers like golf on every paintball, what do you think that would look like on TV? To me, it would be absolutely amazing.
Or brighter shell. Do you think brighter shell?
5 guys shooting against each other, 10 balls a second, all these crosshair, the lines, the shooting lanes, all that, all this ammunition going in the air of shooting each other would be amazing on TV if you could see it. Mm-hmm. We can't see it on TV. So if we could trace the balls and have it visualized, and seeing people get hit and or marked and walking off the field, because it would be exciting. It would be made for TV it would bang just like that.
Yeah.
So can we get tracers in all these paintballs? Is it a brighter shell? I don't know. But if we could visualize it, but right now we can't visualize it on TV. That's part of the problem. We watch our Go Sports now. We understand the game because we enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But get me somebody that's never played the game and put them in front of it. They don't have a clue what's going on. This guy's just walking off the field. What happened?
Put my grandma in front of it. See what happens.
Right. So to me, that's our biggest challenge, and I don't know if that'll ever get solved.
Mm-hmm. So I have a pitch for you. What do you think about a professional standalone league where it's the NXL, but you have your amateur league, which is all your divisionals, up to maybe semi-pro, or you can have semi-pro be with the pro, but you have all your divisional leagues, and then you have these separate events that are just semi-pro or pro, and you make it exclusive. People can come and watch, and I feel like people will. And you just have the pros play these events in these cities where all these other, the popular cities where paintball is.
Well, we've talked about that, and honestly, we have talked about running a pro league circuit that would just be pros and limit it to that. And again, that could be something that you could try. And are you going to draw the traffic? How are you going to pay for it? Who's paying for the teams? Right now, it's another thing is you think about every pro team pays an entrance fee. So we can't really tell the pro teams what to do because they're paying to be there. It's like they're a customer of the NXL. We tried to go X Games. The problem with the X Games situation was that it was, television is perfect and everything else. Space, they had no space for us. Our fields are, 150 by 120 and plus, and we had no space to get into the X Games. We've actually gone down that path of trying to get it on with the X Games. So again, we've talked about it. I'm not sure how it would financially pay, I guess.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you go there, and the structure right now, man, I don't know. Even the structure right now, it's not easy for the NXL. I'll be honest. Knowing the numbers that I know, we put on a good show. We run it's a very clean event, and I know we're growing it, and our numbers are growing, and it's great, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
But it's not cheap.
Well,
there's a lot of people there. You like looking at all those nice ladies, and that thing, Carl. So we're trying.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I always thought of, and I know this is probably way out of the budget too, but was like maybe a Saturday night, or not even a Saturday night, or maybe even Saturday night of getting some kind of music artist, in and play the venue, like have a stage set up like you guys have. And
we had one at World Cup there. We brought a band in last year. I think it was there Sunday, it was Saturday, 4 till 7 last year. We actually brought a live band in.
Oh, really?
on the Saturday, which was World Cup. Yeah. So that was good. I mean, it was really good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're thinking of everything. I mean, we've had elephants, we've had everything there. So anything that'll work, that'll pay, and draw more traffic, draw more people in. I know the NXL draws. When we go to a certain events, we're working with the city, trying to promote the city, trying to create discounts for our players. Mm-hmm. Right now we're working with Kissimmee on a golf discount, and Tom's phone. He said, "Well, how many golfers play in the paintball world?" I said, "Well, probably 50% of us play golf." Mm-hmm. But are we going to golf during that weekend? Probably not, right? We don't have time.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at all things. It's amazing what we talk about to try and create the positives in this game and how we can make it better.
How do you choose the venues?
I'll tell you, Tom's on the phone. Tom goes to seminars that literally is where people are looking for us to go to. And we've learned a lot from that. And when I say seminars, it's cities that draw, could be anything. And we've, even in Europe right now, in the European NXL, we were looking at Prague. We're going to Prague. We've got Amsterdam, Paris. We're trying everywhere and anything. I mean, he just went to the PGA tournament last weekend, got invited by the PGA to go and look at their venues and how they do it.
Really?
Yeah. And again, I mean, the PGA is well organized. If you think about their parking space and the fields that they use for parking cars is massive. So, opportunities there. It could be just a field in some downtown area that the PGA visits that we might be able to get. We are trying everything we can to try and get the best venues, best locations at the best rate, the best price, and what the city will help us out with. We're trying everything in any city. It's amazing what we go through. But Tom is the guy. Camille Lemansky is doing a fabulous job. Just both those two are really pushing the venues and trying to get the best we can.
I wish I could go to Europe this year. I was really thinking about it, and just with work and everything. I've never been to Europe this whole time I've played paintball.
Really?
Yeah. I've always wanted to and never got the chance. And, Well,
the nice thing about the fact there now is we're going to Prague. We had London, we had Dublin also on the list. Again, those are venues that we're working with continually, trying to find a better place. And
that's awesome.
I think the London event's at the Olympics, one of the Olympic sites. That's going to be kind of exciting. Yeah. So, but we want to go to different cities in Europe with the NXL now, with Europe and that. So create a little buzz there.
And I have another question for you, because I know that, and everybody knows that you guys bought out the PSP after, what was it, 2015, after one event, after Dallas?
Yeah.
What mistakes did the PSP make that you are trying to avoid with the NXL?
Well, if I go back to the PSP, and I think Dallas was a good example, when a rainstorm hits and there's trouble, you've got to jump to the pump and help people out. And I don't know if you were at that Dallas event, man.
Oh, yeah.
There was, the hay could have been used a lot more places. And those are things that, like, if we get into a situation where we get a lot of rain and it gets real, the event's got to go on, but you can't just let people walk through and struggle with their bags and do whatever they just dropped the ball, in my mind, mm-hmm. that they didn't help the customer, which is the paintball player. And that's where the PSP failed. They stopped helping. They put up the fence, they opened up the gates and said, have at it. But when things happened, like a storm, it just seemed like, and yeah, they're going to deal with down nettings and all that, but it's the paintballer that's walking through the mud and can't get anywhere. And, we kind of look, our attitude is, if we get into that situation, we're there to help the client. And so we'll do everything we can to correct it. If it's putting hay down, pieces of plywood to walk through an area, we're going to do whatever we can to make sure that they see that we're trying to help them get through this event. We're all trying to get through it. So hands on deck, everybody's there. And unfortunately, the NXL's had great weather for the last 3 years.
I'm going to knock a bunch on wood right now because of that, because it has been very generous. Yeah, the paintball gods.
Well, but think about when Dallas, the location and the time. They never changed the date on their Dallas dates, and they never looked at weather issues. We look at weather, we look at temperatures, we look at World Cup today, November We moved it out of October because everybody wanted it out of October for one reason, for Halloween, for the field owners, which we did. But what we didn't realize, when we moved it into November, the weather got better. We got shorter days, but we got great weather. It's cooler. There's no humidity now. I mean, PSP back in the day in the middle of October, it was humid, hot, 110 degrees.
Yeah.
Humidity was 100. People were dropping.
It was melting.
Yeah. So those situations that's where I think the PSP dropped the ball, is they didn't. We look at weather, dates, even the September date now. August, it was the middle of August, hot. We moved our Chicago event to September. Great weather. Chicago last year was cool. It was nice. It just seems like we're doing the right things when it comes to those type of things, which I think is helping us with our success. And, it's just that our venues are clean. And I like the fact I preached to Tom. I said, Tom, it's Disneyland. We got to keep it clean. So there's a big push on keeping it clean, because if we're going to a dirty event, nobody wants to come back. Bathrooms have to be checked. All those little things. I mean, I can remember the bathrooms are underneath the grandstands at World Cup one year. I go, what are we doing? Why are the bathrooms under the grandstands? I mean, I don't exactly want to sit there all day and sit there. So those little things add up for what the NHL is doing today, in my mind. Yeah.
Well, and because you care, right? I think that's what it comes down to, is that you care about the sport and you care about the direction. And this is, not only is it the only league, but this is the league that if you're going to play pro, if you're going to go up the divisions, if you want to be on the webcast, this is where you got to be. And if you can't make this an experience for somebody, a pleasant experience for somebody, then it's just like anything else. I mean, it's a product, and if the customer is going to be paying for this product out of their pocket, and if they don't have a good experience, then they're not going to want to come back. They're not going to want to do this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know the frustration was very high with PSP near the end there, and I think the timing for us to come in was very fortunate when we did, and we were able to do it. And we had that at that time, we made the calls to the pros and understanding what was going to happen, and they all bought into it. So again, I was part of the MPPL, and the manufacturers didn't want to support two leagues. There's only one league that we're going to support. That was the decision. Yeah. So be it. MPPL went away. 7-man's here. It was gone. And we ran a good league then. It was good. It was a good format, and everything was good. Just we couldn't get the sponsorships to survive. Even today, we're looking at the game like it's, 5-man Xball, 5-man regular is there something 10-man's having success? What do we do? How do we grow the sport again? Do we attach 7-man again to try and create more?
Oh, yes.
Attach, because honest, and I'll be back in the day, Chuck Hench and myself and Dave Youngblood, we were in talks of attaching 7-man to Xball back in when we were on our last leg. And for some reason, I'll be honest, it wasn't. I was all for it. Yeah. To tie in with the PSP with MPPL and do a 7-man right beside it, and we only needed 2 fields, and because 7-man, if you think about it, was the one we played one game, 1 point, 100-point games. Yeah. We could run 50 teams on one field because of the time efficiency. So, but it never happened, and today I think that would have been the perfect scenario. And we're talking about 7-man again right now. To be honest, there's manufacturers talking to us about it. Do we add that side of it, that side of things?
So why? One thing I'm totally for 7-man. I miss 7-man. I thought it was it was just enough guys on the field to really not lose track of too many people, and you really played as a team. It wasn't so, I guess, robotic as everything went. You really played as these little groups inside of the 7-man, as 2 or 3-man groups going down the field. And I love 7-man. I could talk 7-man all day. Well, but,
I would ask Carl, and you say it. Anybody I talked about 7-man loves it. But if you think about the problem right now is the size of the field. Field owners are all structured right now. But Impact, we actually played 7-man this year on the size of this field with the change in the bunkers. The bunkers I think, make it that we could run 7-man. So it's on the table right now with us to talk about what we can and how we can do it. And is it Is it out there? It's out there. I'll be honest. We're taking a hard look at it.
Are you guys thinking at all about, or let me rephrase it, with Europe, the divisionals being 4 pod, is that more of an experiment to see if you're going to transfer over to a limited paint, or is this kind of just, well, man, we'll just see what happens?
There's two sides to this story on that one, because the mentality in North America is nobody wants to play with 4 pods. The mentality in Europe is 4 pods makes it affordable. And you got a taste of that with 2. And we felt that we needed, when we took over the Millennium, we felt that we needed to up it a bit just to give that player a little bit more, whatever you want to call it, flexibility. The game is, some people say they love the game at 2 pods. Well, to me, it slows down very fast. Mm-hmm. When you're out of paint, and it's, you're not moving. And to me, the game slows down. So we'll see with the 4 pods, how it works. I think it comes down to the European mentality of the cost factor. Other than that, I don't know what else to put it to. It's just a cost factor over there that they've gotten used to. It's, again, but you're back to what can a paintball manufacturer can't afford to go to a tournament and everybody's shooting 2 pods. Paintball manufacturer says, I don't need to be there.
Right.
So you lose the support of that type of sponsorship in a sense to run a tournament. Mm-hmm. I mean, so maybe pro tournaments go away in Europe. I mean, we're going in there for our first year. Right now, I think we've got 75 teams for our first event scheduled right now. We're a month away. Our hope is to get to 100 for the first event. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get there. So again, it's hard. I mean, it's trying to make it go. I don't know the answer to 4 pods or whether, are the American people going to say, yeah, we can go to 4 pods? We've talked about it, but I don't know. We don't want to upset our customer.
So this is my take, and I think it has multiple heads on it. But this is my take on the 4 pod thing. I think with 4 pods, and maybe a few different things that could change. I think with 4 pods, you start eliminating the bounce shot, the continuous bounce shots, and practice of bounce shots, which I think has changed the game drastically. But I think also what tends to happen is that I've been watching and averaging out the points on mostly the pro level, roughly 2 minutes or less, average point, I would say. And I would say, depending on, if you go over that 2 minutes, guys are shooting more than 2 pods. Or I'm sorry, more than 4 pods. If you're in the back. If you're a front guy, some depends on, it's all situational, right? But I think a lot of the average points are between 1.5 minutes and maybe 2.5 minutes. And I think within there, you can still have a game with 4 pods. I think the players now, I think it might be maybe 50-50 on whether or not they want to sit and shoot or they're going to try and, make something happen. Because I think that's one drawback we have right now, which I don't think is as much now a drawback with the new bunkers. But there's a tendency to just, well, I have 1 million pods on my back. I can just sit here and shoot this until, the game might be 1-0, but we're ahead by 1, and I can just sit here for days and I think when people tune into that, whether they be at the tournament or on the webcast, and they tune into that and they go, well, nothing's happening. I mean, you're seeing these people and nothing's happening, and I think that's a huge drawback. And I think, I can only assume that you guys are trying to figure out a way, whether it be Ryan Brand had this idea of some kind of 2-minute shot clock or 2-minute restriction where you have to score within 2 minutes. It's not a no point. You either get a point or you don't get a point, kind of a thing. And I don't even know how you structure it. It'd have to be a circle of people, their own brainstorming out there. But I think that's the one thing with 4 pods is you can actually maybe start structuring it, because even bringing in the paint companies, you think about it, and the pros, I don't know the paint structure of what kind of discount we get, what this, what that, I don't want to know, but all I'm going on is your average points, and I think average is about 4 pods of what they're shooting. I don't think it would change that much if we limited the paint, honestly.
You're right. Yep. I would tend to agree with your 4 pod average.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, and I don't know now with maybe the players having 4 pods, what mentally that would do to them if they would want to go down the field faster and do this or do that. I see guys ending games with 5 or 6 pods in their back. And I'm like, you're doing it for insurance reasons. That's why you have the pods on your back. So I don't know. I'm just bitching the bitch because I would love to see it 4 pods because I think that would, I think it would change the game. I think I have this crazy idea that if you go 15 balls a second in semi-auto and you bring the smartest people in paintball together and you figure out a way, because I think that was one thing that I loved about 7-man, right? Not only the format, but semi-auto. I never shot anything other than a stock board. And everybody's like, everybody had a cheater board. Everybody did this.
Yeah.
I set my trigger up and everything where I could shoot that thing so fast. And it was a personal thing for me. And if I can train myself, it's just like a football player. If I'm a quarterback and I can throw a spiral into a guy's hands and I do that over and over again, that's a skill. If I can shoot a paintball marker fast, that's a skill and an advantage in a semi-auto match or whatever. But let's say now that instead of all these players being able to sit one-handed and just load and hold a lane like that, like imagine if they actually have to shoot, now they're doing this and it's only 5 balls a second because, they can't control their marker. The marker isn't doing the work for them. Imagine how much the game would change then but now everybody's like, oh, well, it's still going to bounce and it's still going to do this. I was like, well, I'm sure there's an answer to everything and you can get around it and regulate it in some way. I just think it would make the game so much better because I feel like I'm on a rant right now. I'm sorry. But
well, I'll tell you, Carl, I am all about this. I am all about semi-pro or semi-auto.
Yeah.
I think it's the way the game should go. I think we should go back to it. Think about this. What did you and I do when we had the semi-auto gun? We'd be sitting there in our living room watching TV and triggering our gun to see how fast could you get to 12? Could you get to 13?
Yeah.
Could you get to 4? We did it all night long.
Yeah.
What do we do now? Our gun sits in the garage, and I'm sitting here watching TV with nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't trigger pull that gun anymore because it just sits in the garage.
It does the work for you. So
and that's
why even learn it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Exactly. So I'm all about semi-auto. I think we should go back to that. I've stated it. I would love to see it because I think that brings back the real game.
The player.
And the player is going to practice.
Yeah.
It would bring the real skill in the player. I mean, we're talking, believe me, we are talking about those things right now. And,
yeah.
I think the way to break it in is some exhibition matches.
Mm-hmm.
And we might start that this year. We've talked about it is we need to do some exhibition stuff.
I'd love to be involved. Or even aftershock themselves. I'd love to be involved.
We need to look at that semi-auto again. And yeah, you know what? There's the boards, but if you're going to get caught, the penalties are going to be severe enough that you're not going to do it again, or whatever the case may be.
There you go.
Make it so stringent, whatever we want to call it. Create the rules. And if they break them, they break them. But I'm not afraid of it because we played it for how many years,
mm-hmm. and
we survived. So it's not like we can't go and play it and the fear factor. It doesn't make sense to me. Let's just. It was what made the player back in the day.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was a great game, 7-man. So exhibition is maybe one format. We're going to do it, and it could happen at World Cup. But again, our situation now with the NXL, honestly, is we try and make the decisions a lot earlier than announcing in the new year that we're going to change this. So it needs to be done earlier on, and people warm up to it and understand it and agree to it. The one thing that we're very conscious of is our customer, and we want to. That's why I don't think it's an elimination of this or that. It's maybe an addition of this, and then it'll cultivate to its own. It may cultivate one way or the other.
Yeah.
Where people will gravitate to 7-man if that's what we're going to add. If the pros play, maybe we throw it at the pros that they play 7-man, and there's a graduation from Xball to 5-man. Who knows how we're going to make it work or what's best.
Yeah.
But if 10-man's great.
We're looking to the future, right? I mean, that's the whole goal, is looking to the future. And paintball is one of those unique things where it's constantly changing. I mean, it might not seem like it, but we are constantly changing and adapting to try and figure out the best format, the best this, the best that. And I think that's, again, why I brought up the whole 15 balls a second semi-auto and how we were discussing how it brought the skill out of the player. And some people might think it's a skill. But I think about when I first started playing and when I first started learning how to do that. And then I think about kids now, and you have a tournament player in a box that does all the work for them. They get these mechanics down to where they're not even thinking. They're just doing these movements because they're shooting through bunkers, and they're doing all this because they have this machine gun in their hand. And I'm like, you're not learning gun skills. Just gunfighting is not. It's not just that's controlling your marker. And if I want to shoot 5 balls in this direction, I know 5 times that I pull the trigger, they're going to go here. They're going to go here. You know, you have more control. It's like driving a stick shift car, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. So
yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I'm not beating that dead horse, but I'm glad. I'm really super glad that I get to talk to you about this. And I'm even more happy that the things that you're telling me, that you guys are actually discussing these things, because I'm not in the room, and I know a lot of people in the league or in paintball themselves who are curious about what you guys are talking about or the direction that you're taking it. And I think that this conversation alone, I hopefully brings light to a lot of people out there that you are and the other owners are out there to, you know, bring the best product to the table and the best experience for these players.
That's really what we're trying. And yeah, we need to, everything we've talked about tonight, Carl, is great, because it is, like you say, get it out there a little bit more, that people start realizing, hey, it's not like we're sitting in the back rooms just accepting what we're doing. It's not. It's a matter of us trying to do the right thing and grow it and get more paintballs in the air.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. I won't hold you back too much longer. But again, thank you so very much for sitting down with me. I would love to, there's so much more I wanted to discuss, but I would really like to do this maybe, you know, at the end of the year, or, you know, further down the year, you know, and where the league, you know, is kind of rolling along. I still can't believe we're already an event into the season already.
Yeah.
But we should definitely do this again. I have a lot more to talk about.
For sure.
All right, Bart, I appreciate it, and we will we'll see you soon.
Good job.
In, Dallas?
Yes, Dallas is coming up. Be ready for Dallas, Carl.
Oh, I'm ready, man. I've been doing jiu-jitsu. My conditioning has been, hands down. I mean, people are probably tired of, you know, having me here like talk about jiu-jitsu and everything. Hands down, this has been my best condition that I've been in my life. And
wow. Well, you look fast out there. You've always looked fast, though. But it's great. How old are you now?
I'm 45.
Jeez, holy smokes!
No, I'm not 45. I'm 30. No, I'm a young 32. Is how I.
There you go.
I say it.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
But thank you. And then, you know, I hope to continue playing as long as I can. But jiu-jitsu has done for me is what paintball did when I first discovered paintball. That's how I'm getting into jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that it's relatable. I mean, jiu-jitsu is so physically demanding, but also mentally demanding, and it's the same thing in paintball. There are these windows that open and close, and I mean, you've played the sport. It opens and closes, and you have to determine when to go, when to shoot. You know, you see all these windows. So
yeah.
I mean, I relate it a lot to paintball, and you know, it's something that's really taken a hold of me, and it's got me even deeper into paintball now, and I'm having a good time. But
awesome.
Enough about me. Bart, thank you so much again, and I hope to talk to you more, even off air, about ideas and ways to grow this thing.
Awesome. Thanks everybody, and I love all you haters out there too. You keep it interesting.
Hey, as long as you're talking about it.
Yeah,
as long as you're
it's
talking
good.
About it.
It's all good.
All right,
thanks,
Bart.
Buddy.
We'll see you. Take care.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you, Bart, for sitting down and having this chat. I thought it was super productive. You know, this is just what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I thought it was going to be very informative. I was hoping to get as much behind-the-scenes info as I could for you guys, and I think I did. I think Bart was very straightforward with the direction that he would like to see the league to go and paintball to go, and I think it's very beneficial and really good to hear. So thank you. Also, a thank you to our sponsors, Charm City Paintball. Like I said before, headbands, head wraps, pack bands, which him and I are collaborating with. Along with, I should have a Signature Series headband from him coming out very, very soon. but make sure you check them out. Charm City Paintball on Instagram along with Facebook. Also, thank you to ckfightlife.com, where you can find some paintball gear like packs, pants, jerseys. But like I said, they do some amazing laser engraving work, and just give them a shout either at ckfightlife.com or at you can call the number 951-219-5045, and you can get a hold of Tony, and he can help you out. And if you're into jiu-jitsu, they have a growing jiu-jitsu side, which I am a giant fan of. So thank you to CK Fight Life. And last, Planet Eclipse, who produced the best paintball marker on the planet, the LV1 series. LV 1.5, the LV1, the LVR, which I still have and enjoy and I shoot. So but they also have the CS2, which is out, which is a pretty amazing marker now, and breaking boundaries. So thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to everyone out there who is listening. I very, very much appreciate it, and everybody giving me feedback, whether it be good or bad. Anything's, I will take it all in and just enjoy everyone's opinion. but thank you, everyone who is writing me and letting me know their feelings on anything and their opinions on things. I think it's very cool. But a lot of it is so inspirational for me, because a lot of people have been saying that they've started playing again after a long break, or and this podcast has been helping them out, which is amazing. I mean, I love it. I love hearing things like that, because paintball has done a lot of good for me, and I'm glad that I could do something like this to be able to give back to the community in something so simple and so basic as telling paintball stories and life stories. So thank you to everyone out there, and make sure you go follow me on Instagram, Carl_Markowski, also on Facebook, Carl Microwave Markowski, and let me know how you feel. I'd appreciate it. But I appreciate everybody out there. Thank you so much again, and we will see you soon. Jeez, it's early, and this blueberry coffee is actually really good, but I'm still not awake yet. But we'll see you here again soon on the Playing On podcast. Peace.